really, I made the beat on my birthday. That's the crazy part. Last year, and it was one of those beats where it was just like, you know, I was kind of just trying to rush through a pack, like made a beat in like 10, 20 minutes and like just be on to the next one. I wasn't really expecting this song to get that place like that. So it was just kind of by luck, kind of.
Project X.
I'm Project X and I'm from a little town called Manchester from New Hampshire. It's like 40 minutes away from Boston. Out there, it really be cold as hell. Like, it be snowing. I don't be fucking with that. The way I linked up with Sonny, I think one day he was on like Instagram Live, and I think it was his birthday or some shit, and he added me to the live. He was just like letting everybody play their beats or whatever, and I already had a fire beat loaded up. I knew he was gonna fuck with it because I've been listening to Sonny and Bo for like a while, like since before I started making beats, since like Black Goat 1. And so he added me to the live, I played in the beat and he told me to DM him and shit. So I DM'd him, he ain't never replied to me, ever. It's been like a year. Nah, not even a year, like a few months. And one day I pulled up to one of the ProducerGrind VIP events and I met him over there because I was like, might as well meet him in person. He know the name, might as well put a face to the name. And since then, he gave me his number and we was just locked in since then. Way we started working, he ever since he gave me his number, he sent me his email. And I just been sending him beats ever since. Like he's been fucking with my bounce. Sonny's team does really good business and they reached out to me like months before, before it even dropped. The day actually got pushed back like a few times, but all the business was already taken care of way before that, so it was expected. Now I'm about to show you how I made the beat to $1 million by Sonny Digital and Bo. So really, when I started this, I was going through a pack that my dog Real LeVea sent me. This is originally what the loop sounded like. So what I did here, I really just turned up. Anytime I drag any type of loop, melody, I make sure I go in here and I always click stretch. I don't know why, I just always do it. It always worked for me. And then to double check, I make sure I click project tempo. So once you take care of that, I always reset the pitch just in case. But in this beat, I was kind of messing around with the pitch, and then I got this. Turned it down about 900 cents because when you go work with your 808s, for every key you go up and down, that's usually 100 cents, depending on which way you're going up and down. So I always turn the sample down whenever I turn the pitch of my 808s down. For the drums, I started with the clap. It's the average Lex Luger clap. Everybody has it, you know, like it's nothing too special. Everybody has the same sounds. Started with the average clap pattern, you know, nothing too special. And then from there, I added in a little snare, like, you know, just that average, like, you know, bounce. Really, I wasn't trying to go too crazy with the drums. I already liked the melody the way it sounded, so I didn't want to go too crazy. I felt like the melody really spoke for itself. It gave it kind of like a vibe, you know, like kind of like a joyful vibe. So I wasn't really trying to make this beat for anybody. I was just kind of going off the feels. Like, I don't really like having somebody in mind when I cook up. I kind of just go with whatever. Like, you know, I make all different kinds of vibes. So from there, usually I like to work, when it comes to my drums, I like to work all in one pattern. And after I'm done with the pattern, I'll go in and I'll click here where it says split by channel, and that pretty much just splits up like all the individual sounds from that one pattern into its own individual pattern. That way you could arrange the beat how you want it. So after I was done with the snares, I went in and added the 808s. I only like using two 808s. I'm gonna be honest, I like using the Spins 808 and I like using the Zay. And I'm pretty sure everyone could relate. But so once I put up the Zay 808, what I pretty much do, I always make sure I turn up the trim, you know, because sometimes you'll get a sound that's kind of delayed and you want to cut that excess noise that don't really do nothing. It just makes it delayed. And what I like to do with my 808s all the time, I don't like to leave it the way it comes in. So I like to turn the out knob up and it kind of makes it shorter. Sometimes I like to turn it up all the way and make it a real short 808, and sometimes I like to just turn it up just a little bit. In this case, we just turn it up a little bit, not too much. So when it comes to like my 808s, I don't really, you know, think too much about them. I like to keep my beats simple, but I like them to hit. So really, that shit should just kind of come from your heart, really, when you do your 808s. It shouldn't be too much, you know. I like to mess around with, like, you know, turning a few notes down an octave, turning a few notes up, you know, just go crazy. But we didn't really do too much on these 808s though, but it still gave it that vibe. So when it comes to like my 808s, I don't really, you know, think too much about them. I like to keep my beats simple, but I like them to hit. So really, that shit should just kind of come from your heart, really, when you do your 808s. It shouldn't be too much, you know. And then from there, I just dragged in my regular hit one hi-hats. And what I do the same thing I do with my 808s to the hi-hats. I turn the trim up and then I turn the out knob up, just to make the hi-hats kind of more crisp. And so I went in and, you know, I did the fill every 2 steps. But usually I don't like to leave it like that, so I just did a few rolls here and then. When I do my hi-hats, I like to work in 1/3 step. Don't ever do 1/3 beat unless you want it to be a little less divided. So I do 1/3 step to do my hi-hat rolls. And I grab this little paintbrush tool right here. And while I'm holding shift, you could just go in and, you know, just draw in the hi-hats, do your little hi-hat rolls and go crazy. And then, you know, control Z to redo it, control Alt Z to like go back more than once. Another thing too, if you didn't know already, if you say you're trying to look for a certain drum kit, you could take one of the sounds that you already used from the specific drum kit and you could drag it into this little browser and it should pull up the drums right there. So that when I found that out, that helped me out a lot. And last but not least, I added in these Zay open hats right here. Sometimes I like to, you know, turn the out knob up. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I like to, you know, turn them up an octave. Sometimes I don't. This case, I just left them regular, you know, I just felt like, just to, you know, top it off. With this beat, I wasn't really trying to go too crazy. It was kind of one of those beats where it was probably like my 6th, 7th beat from the 10-pack. And like, you know, I was just kind of like burnt out, just trying to get through beats, you know? So I wasn't really trying to go too crazy. Like I was saying earlier, I really didn't even expect this to get placed, but really when I send out beat packs, I like to just add in like certain beats, even the beats I might not even like, because most of the time those are the beats that other artists like. Right, so. And then last but not least, I added my little tag. Shout out Jay Neutron, he did like everybody's tag. Project X. So the way I arrange this beat, I like to do a hook. I like to do a little intro, a hook, a verse, another hook, another verse, and then the outro. And me, I like to work up to 8 bars when I'm working on a drum loop. So pretty much for the intro, I'll leave it an 8-bar loop. And then for the hook, I'll do 2 of those. So what would that be, like 16? And then for the hook, I'll do 3 of those. So what I'll do after that, I'll take the hook and the verse, and I actually just hold shift, and then you could just do control B or shift B. Now you could just do control B and it'll duplicate it over. So once I get both of those right here, this is pretty much the full song. Now I just take the hook and then I'll drag it to the end and then I'll duplicate it one more time. I'll just duplicate it one more time like you can see here. And that's pretty much my outro. And I use the same structure for every single beat, I ain't gonna lie. And it works. You know, you don't got it, some producers got it kind of like confused. Like some producers really question how to arrange beats, how they should do this, how they should do that, like how many sounds they should put in a beat. You really don't got to do too much. If the artist likes it, they gonna like it, you know? Like, if it's a vibe, it's a vibe. And you gotta be honest with yourself. If the beat's not good, it's not good. If it's good, it's good. Like, you just gotta be real. And you always gonna be deaf to your own sound too. Like, try not to ever doubt yourself too. Like I said, I wasn't really even rocking with this beat when I first made it. I doubted this beat really, and I threw it in a little package for Sonny, and he just hopped on it, you know, and it's going crazy now. Now I like the beat, you know, because really for the song, the beat's 50% and the artist's vocals is the other half. So when the full song came out, shit, it was just going crazy, you know? I don't really do too much when I mix. I don't really do too much. Usually for the melody, I like to keep it around like this level, like under like 15 or under 12. And then for the 808, I like to add a little distortion too. I like to pull up Fruity Fast distortion. That's my go-to. I've been using that distortion since I even started making beats. I've been using all the same drums really since I started making beats, and I've been making beats for like 4 years now. And so when I pull up the Fruity Fast distortion, I like to use this one. It's called Some Oomph. And what I like to do is I'll turn it down. I don't want too much of a distortion. I just want it there for me to be able to hear the low frequencies through my phone or something, you know, my phone speaker or something. So once I got, another thing too, with my 808s, what I used to, cause this is a kind of an older beat, what I used to do, I'll like double layer the 808s. But what you could really do, you could just take the whole thing and then just hold Alt and then just scroll up, and it just like turns up the velocity and it just makes your 808 hit. Usually the 808 is the loudest sound in my beat while I'm mixing. So as you can see, like my 808's hitting like at 3. And for the clap, I like to turn my highs up as well, just to make it more crisp. It just makes it a little bit more crisp, and I do that on all my claps. I do that on some of my snares, some of my rims. I kind of just left the snare the way it really was. The 808's the loudest sound in my beat, and usually the clap's the second. And yeah, that's pretty much how I made this beat. It's Project X, and you in the cut with Producer Grind.